The Amazing Powers of Jen Bricker, an incredible true story of love, determination, and dreaming big, by Kristin Lewis. Jen Bricker hangs 30 feet above the ground, wrapped in red fabric, dangling from the ceiling. The audience gasps as she rolls out of the fabric, her long, dark hair tumbling down behind her in a wave. She moves with the grace of a ballerina and the strength of a football player. Jen is an aerialist, an acrobat who performs darting feats high in the air. She's appeared on stages all over the world, from Malaysia to Germany. She has dazzled audiences by hanging from a hot air balloon and soaring off of a trampoline. Jen's career is impressive no matter how you look at it, but it is all the more extraordinary because she was born without legs. Alone in the world. Jen was born in 1987 in Salem, Illinois. With her big brown eyes and thick black hair, she was adorable. But something was different about her. Because of a genetic problem, her legs never formed. Her biological father decided he couldn't handle raising a child with a serious medical issue. He insisted on leaving Jen at the hospital, forbidding her mother from even seeing her. And so Jen came into the world completely alone, without parents, without even a name. Her future seemed uncertain at best. She was ours. Less than 100 miles from Salem, in the small town of Hardinville, Illinois, lived Gerald and Sharon Bricker and their 3 sons. The Bricker home was a happy one. Still, Gerald and Sharon felt something was missing from their lives. They had always wanted a little girl but couldn't have more children, so they decided to adopt one. A friend told them about a baby born without legs who had been placed in a temporary home not too far away. The Brickers set out to meet her. She was this tiny, itty-bitty thing, Sharon recalls. She was so beautiful. She looked up and smiled at us, and she was ours, Gerald said. The Brickers spoke with doctors to find out what kind of medical care Jen would need. These doctors painted a bleak picture of what Jen's life would be like, suggesting that she would never be able to move around or even sit up on her own. The Brickers didn't come away with a clear idea of what exactly Jen would need, but they were determined that whatever it was, they would find a way to provide it. Agile and fearless. As it turned out, Jen was a natural athlete, agile and fearless. She quickly learned to get around using her arms. Jen walks by placing her hands on the ground in front of her, lifting herself up and pulling herself forward. She is as skilled walking on her hands as others are walking on their feet. Not surprisingly, her upper body is incredibly strong. Growing up, Jen was always playing with her big brothers, scurrying up rocks, swimming, and bouncing on the big trampoline in her family's backyard. When she was about 2, a doctor fitted her with prosthetic legs, but she hated wearing them, preferring to move on her own hands instead. Jen steals the show in her aerial act. The bottom picture shows Jen as a child on the trampoline with her brother. Can-do spirit. Technically, Jen has a disability, which is defined as something that prevents a person from being able to move easily. But Jen says she's lucky. Growing up, she felt she could do anything she put her mind to. In the Bricker house, the word can't was simply not allowed. We were always telling her, "You can do anything you want to do," Gerald says. Perhaps it's not surprising that Jen was something of a prodigy in sports. In elementary school, she could speed around the softball diamonds on her hands. She snowboarded and fished and rode horses. She even taught herself to roller skate on her hands. But gymnastics was where Jen really shone. She would race down the mat on her hands and launch herself into the air, flipping with power and ease. When Jen was 11, she took home gold at the state gymnastics championship, beating out the gymnasts with legs. A lot of attention. Jen's success attracted a lot of attention. Articles were written about her. News crews came to her school to film her. She was even flown to New York City to be on a talk show. At the time, she found the attention confusing. She remembers thinking, "This is dumb. I am not anything special. Why am I an inspiration to you?" Like many kids in middle school, Jen sometimes longed to blend in. But, as she learned, when you don't have legs, people are going to notice you wherever you go. It seemed impossible. During the 1996 Olympic Games in Atlanta, Georgia, Jen, who was 8 at the time, sat glued to the television. She watched in awe as gymnast Dominique Moceanu tumbled her way to a gold medal. Long after the Olympics had ended, Jen continued to admire Dominique. She felt like more than a fan obsessed with a famous athlete. Jen was struck by the similarities between herself and her idol. They were both gymnasts, both with Romanian backgrounds. They both had big eyes, tan skin, and long dark hair. Even Jen's mom had to admit that her daughter and Dominique looked a lot alike. It turns out this was not a coincidence. Seeing Dominique's name on the TV screen during the Olympics, Sharon suddenly remembered something: the name of Jen's biological family. The name had been included in Jen's hospital records by accident. That name was Moceanu. It seemed impossible, and yet it made perfect sense. Jen and Dominique were sisters. Now what? The Brickers decided to wait until Jen was 16 to tell her about Dominique. When they revealed the truth, Jen felt like she was living in a dream. "The girl I watched on TV, she's my biological sister?" Jen thought. It took Jen 4 years to track down Dominique's address. While searching, Jen discovered that she had another sister, Kristina. Finally, in 2007, Jen sat down to write Dominique an old-fashioned letter. By the time Dominique got to the end of Jen's letter, she was weeping. She immediately called her mom, who told her the story was true. Soon after, Dominique and Jen spoke on the phone. They were overjoyed to have found each other, yet sad to have missed so many years of being in each other's lives. This is a picture of Jen and her adoptive parents, Gerald and Sharon. And this is a picture of Jen with her sisters, Dominique Monacheau at the left, Kristina Monacheau in the middle, and Monacheau Chapman in the middle. And Jen Bricker is on the right. Everything is possible. Today, Jen is 31. Her life has been an incredible adventure. She went to college, worked at Disney World, and created an aerial act with another acrobat. She has also formed a close bond with Dominique and Kristina. And of course, Jen remains an adventurous as ever. She scuba dives, kayaks, and surfs. Still, she insists there is nothing special about her, that she has no superpowers, that she is just a normal person who works hard and doesn't give up. Yet Jen has come to understand that her life is an inspiration to others, and that may be where her greatest power lies, because if any of us had to face the obstacles that Jen has faced, wouldn't we hope to be able to respond exactly as she has? With fearlessness, with hope, with heart? In the introduction to her memoir, Everything is Possible, Jen shares a quote from a William Shakespeare play. The line she chose could not be more fitting. "Though she be but little, she is fierce."